We now have Adam Ben-Aron. He's co-founder of MICE, a corporate development analyst. He's an engineer by trade, and he's also earned his MBA in 2008. What Diana didn't mention to you, that she's the only non-MBA in the forum today, but what a wonderful work she's done at the same time. Please allow me to welcome Adam.
And I guess what also wasn't mentioned is Diana's the only one without an MBA, and she's also raised the most amount of money. So what does that tell everyone? So I'm here today, guys, to talk basically about how Lean has affected my company, how the business model canvas, the business model generation book has affected my startup life. So pretty goal-oriented, so I want to, I guess, give you a first kind of overview of what I'm doing. Why am I here? What am I going to talk about? What I hope to achieve. Basically, I want people to understand by the end of this, or have a better grasp of, who are these tools for? Because they're not actually for everyone. No tool is for everyone, because if you build something for everyone, you're building something for no one, right? So who's it for? And then to go through a little bit of how we've used it. So about me, as I guess my kind of bio suggested, I'm now working on my third web product, an engineering degree and an MBA, quite goal-oriented, as I mentioned, but specifically goals around things that move the needle. So what that means is it's great to have goals, it's great to have lists of things to do, but as an entrepreneur, it's most important to figure out what's actually going to make a difference in your day. It's really easy to figure out, all these things you got to do, but the hard part is to figure out, what are the important things that I have to do in order to actually get to the next level. I really am big on questions. My business partner hates that about me because I'm always asking the questions. So, feel free at any point in time, put your hand up, make the presentation a little more enjoyable. And I like to talk about things that I know, which is startup life, because I've been doing it for the last 3 or 4 years. So, who here is an entrepreneur or wants to be an entrepreneur? All right, that makes sense. Who here has a startup idea or is working in a startup currently? So, 2/3 of the people, roughly, give or take. All right, so I'm going to see if I can change your opinion on that in terms of, do people actually know what a startup is? So I've got 3 options, which are kind of commonly thought of options as to what a startup is. Is it a company positioned for high growth? Is it a company in any tech industry, or is it any new company? So think about it for a second. Everyone's got their answer in their head. Okay, so according to Silicon Valley, which many may argue is the home of the startup, it's A. So it's companies that are positioned for high growth. Doesn't really matter what industry you're in, doesn't really matter what you're doing. If you're a company that's positioned for high growth, you're, by Silicon Valley definition, a startup. Okay, so what does that mean? That means you are doing two of two things. Sorry. First, you need a lot of people that actually need what you're producing. So you have to have a really big market. There has to be a lot of people that have a burning desire in order to pay for what you're doing. The second thing is that you're able to actually serve all of these people. So it's great, if you want to open a barber shop, because, a lot of people need haircuts, most people need haircuts, but you're not able to serve everyone really easily with one barber shop. You can probably serve people within, if you got the best barber shop in the world within 10 kilometers of your barber shop. You're not going to be able to serve people with your barber shop in other cities. So you really got to think about this. Okay? This also goes in the same vein as, if you're a tech startup company and you are making software to help people learn a new language. So if you're helping people learn a new language, you want to teach, Croatian to someone in Greece. That, they're kind of close countries, but what are the size of those markets? It's a really scalable thing because, you can serve this product to a whole bunch of different people. But how many people in Croatia actually want to learn Greek? As opposed to how many people in China want to learn English. So you got to think about how big is the market, how scalable is the market. Now, Why is this important? Why am I telling you this? Who cares? Why it's important is really so we actually all have a mutual understanding when we're talking about it. When you go to an event like this and you're saying, I'm running a startup, or you go to an investor and you say, I've got a startup, if you don't actually have a startup, you just, didn't make a new friend, right? So it's important that we're all on the same level playing field. And the reason I bring this up is because I've talked to a lot of people that say they have a startup and don't actually have a startup. So, what do you do? Oh, I sell chocolate bars. Well, that's not really a startup, right? So, and then the second point is once you actually can know who you are, once you know yourself, you can figure out what tools you actually want to use. So once you know that you're a startup, you can start to apply these tools, or if you're not a startup, you can figure out what might be a better task for you. So as we talked about, this is where the tools of the day came in. Lean startup methodologies, business model generation canvas, and as well many iterations of the business model generation canvas. We saw one before from Diane. There's lean model canvas as well, which is one that I'm preferential to. One thing to note that rarely gets talked about, and I've run across this a bunch of times, so I wanted to impart this on people, is if you're running a multi-facing platform or multi-facing business in which you actually have more than one customer, so something like Facebook, where they have the users and then they have the advertisers, right? They got to make both sides happy in order to make the platform work. Something like eBay, you have buyers and sellers. You need to make both sides happy. You need to make sure that if you're going through this process of using the business model generation canvas, that you're actually doing a canvas for each customer. You can't put two different customers on the same canvas because you're going to confuse yourself and it's just not going to make any sense to anyone out there. You're going to go, oh, but what about like these guys' problems and these guys' problems? But you can't put them all down on the same place because it's just not going to make any sense. The other thing to remember, and this is slightly off topic, but still very, very important, that if you're producing a business model in which you have a dual-sided platform with two different customers, chances are your business is going to be more valuable the bigger your business is. Or you're going to be adding more value to your customers the bigger your business is. So in the case of Facebook, the case of eBay, the case of Airbnb, the more people that are using the platform, the more valuable it is for everyone. So that's important because in order to start, which I'm assuming a lot of people in their position of right now, is you need to think about what the single player game looks like. So what's a single player game? Well, I'm assuming at some point in time somebody or everyone here has played a video game or seen a video game at least. You have to think about what does the game look like when you have one customer. How are you going to get that first customer in the door? And if you have a platform like Facebook, eBay, a ton of other ones, you have to think about what's going to get these people interested to use my platform when there's nobody else here. Why is anyone going to care when there's nobody here? We can all dream big. We can all think of, Facebook's amazing. This is fantastic. But the reality is you're never going to get anywhere off the ground if you don't have a good single player mode. And that's very important to remember. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about business model stuff, startup stuff. Onto a little bit about what we do. Very quickly, was working on a platform that was kind of YouTube for cities. Basically, it allowed people to upload videos to locations. And this allowed other people to explore the city through user-generated video. So if you wanted to see what a restaurant looked like in a neighborhood, you could pull up our app and you could see videos of restaurants in the neighborhood. Quite simplistic. When we were coming up with this business model, truthfully, we did not go through these lean steps. We did not go through business model generation. And we're now pivoting and we're doing it all hands on deck. So what that means is before we pivoted, we talked to a whole bunch of customers. The customers come to us, tell us what they wanted, and we're trying to make decisions based on that as to where we head. So where we're headed now is we're taking technology that we've built and we're applying it to publishers. So publishers have a real big problem that they make terrible money online. I'm sure all of you have heard news about how, the Star's newspaper makes 85% of the Star's revenue, and the website makes a mere pittance, and their group buying site makes more than their entire website does. So we're trying to create a tool to solve problems for them. And how we're doing this? We're doing this by creating new revenue streams for them that don't cannibalize their old ones. So in order to get there, as I said, we used the business model generation canvas, but the lean version of that. So as everyone has said, the most important place to start is the unique value proposition. So in the case of the publishers, I should also mention that we've done this 3 times, or we've done it for publishers, we've done it for the people that are going to be seeing it on the publishers' platforms, and we're also doing it for the advertisers. So we actually have 3 people that we need to worry about, which is frankly a big headache, but hopefully we have something that makes it worthwhile. So in knowing what the publishers' problems are, because they told us what their problems are, we then confirmed it with countless other publishers, every publisher that would meet with us. And I will also say, for people that are starting out, this is actually one of the hardest things to do. One of the hardest things to do is to actually get off your butt with your idea or the problem or whatever it happens to be and actually talk to people. Nobody likes to be told your idea is stupid. Nobody likes to be told your idea is not going to work. Nobody likes to be told it's not going to work 10 times in a row. But the reality is that happens to everybody, so just get over it and move on and keep doing it. You all understand that?
Amen.
All right. So talk to your customers. You think you have an idea, you go talk to them, okay? I actually don't even want to go through this because you guys can read it online later and it's not that valuable. So, as we said, you figure out the first thing you want to do in basically this entire process, probably where you guys are now, is you either need to talk to one of your friends to figure out what their problems are in their business. You're in a business yourself right now, you know what your internal company problems are. You need to figure out what are the problems you want to actually look at. As was mentioned before, if you actually have an idea to start off with, chances are you're going to throw it out. And to be honest with you, that's also why I left the solution as evolves, I left metrics as evolves, and I left problems as evolves. Problems, at least in my interpretation, I saw it a little bit different up there before, but my interpretation of problems are what are the problems you're going to run into in implementing this solution. So it's not necessarily problems that the customer has, but because that's covered in the value proposition. The problems are what are the problems you have implementing the solution. And frankly, don't get married to a solution because the ones that work are the ones that change 100 times before you actually hit your stride. So you've talked to a customer, you've done your lean canvas, or you've done your business model generation canvas. Next thing you got to do is then go back to more customers and talk to them. So I guess you guys can probably all see, what we're trying to drive home here is that customer is number one. The people that are actually going to pay for it are the ones you need to satisfy. So with that said, out of all you people that have put up your hands before, say you had startup ideas or you're entrepreneurs, who here has actually talked to one customer? It's not bad, it's better than I thought. Who here has talked to 10 customers? That's good. And how do they like your ideas? Do they have those problems, those guys that put up your hands? Yeah? Kind of? Yeah. Yes? Good. All right, so for the rest of you, please make sure you actually talk to your customers. Because really, guys, nobody's going to care unless you talk to your customers. You're not going to get past the next step without actually having customers buy into what you're doing. So, once you have customers buy into what you're doing, that's when you start doing what everybody always jumps to doing. Everybody always thinks, oh, I got this great idea, I'm going to build it, I'm going to pay for somebody to build it if I don't have the skills, and that's going to result in a beautiful product that all sorts of people are going to love. The reality is it just doesn't happen that way. So you figure out your customers. Once you get your customers, you go through this cycle, guys. It's a pretty simple cycle. You build the absolute minimal product you can. Build the minimal product you can to get something into your customer's hands or in front of your customer or a blueprint or something to get their feedback. You get their feedback either through data, through something qualitative, but you need to be able to actually say, I've gotten customer feedback. As a result of this customer feedback, I'm going to change something or I'm going to add something. So it has to be one or the other, but it's going to rely on what customers are telling you. And guys, a really difficult thing, and I'll say this from experience, is if you just put a product out there without real customers, nobody's going to tell you. If you just put your product out there and just hope that people love it, you have a better chance of winning the lottery than to get people to come back and tell you, you know, do this with your product. Because honestly, it's not going to matter to you. So to recap, who should use Lean Canvas, Lean Principles, Business Model Generation Canvas? I'm a big pusher that if you're a startup, as we defined it before, you really got to look at it. If you're a trailblazing company and may not be a startup, but some of the healthcare products we were hearing about before, clearly trailblazers in their industry, they cannot follow anyone else in what they're doing. They are pushing the product forward, they should be using it as well. If you are deciding to do a more traditional business, and guys, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's tons of people that make tons of money doing real estate or starting McDonald's or whatever it happens to be. There's no shame in it, absolutely not. But you can probably find better tools than these tools, honestly, to help you with your business. If you want to start a barbershop, as I was saying before, go find a barbershop that you love, that gets a lot of good press, that gets a lot of good patronage, and start it a kilometer down the street. Just copy them. That's a lot easier than trying to reinvent the wheel. That's a lot easier than trying to trailblaze or try and make yourself trailblaze in something that doesn't need to be trailblazed in. So, and how did we get to this point? Basically, we failed. We spent a long time banging our heads against the wall. Why aren't people using our product? Why don't people like us? What's happening here? So, recommend first thing you do, guys, go for a problem, talk to some customers. And one more thing. I don't know if anyone here has heard of Lean Startup Machine, but it's
we had a session last week.
I had a session on it.
And October 19th to 21st is well known here.
Yeah, so for anyone that didn't know about it, basically you can go there and you have other like-minded people that you basically go out and talk to customers. You spend an entire weekend talking to your customers, and you have basically a support group to go out and talk to your customers. So if you're at that stage, I highly recommend it. Any questions?
When you mentioned multifaceted approach,
Like
multi-faced, sorry.
Yep.
When you mentioned that, you said you use two different canvases for your
Yep.
How do you present that after? So let's say,
Who am I presenting it to?
well, what I mean by that is that I'll give you an example. We have something similar, and I applied to Digital competition, and we found it to be kind of painstaking trying to get a message across to that two different customers. So is there like a methodology?
What I've found and talked to about people that have actually made it work is pick the one that's going to get the other one.
Yeah.
So if you can pick a so in the case of Facebook, right? Advertisers will be happy with there's a lot of people there. And as we heard before, Facebook's model was give it away for free and eventually we'll monetize it, right? So their approach was our customers to start, and the customer that we're going to focus on to start are the average day user, right? So in that case, they would present the canvas for the everyday user, and you would show the metrics behind how you're getting the average day user signed up and how interested they are. That make sense?
I guess it did after then at the same time, but later on they would show how they monetize it.
It's going to vary on a case-by-case basis, but yes. If it needs to be something that happens at the same time, in the case of eBay needs to have buyers and sellers at the same time. They couldn't just get a whole bunch of sellers up without any buyers. Nobody's going to like it. In that case, yeah, you're going to have to present the value propositions for both sides. Present them separately. Make sure you leave them separately so the people you're presenting to don't get confused. And again, that's why you do multiple canvases, because you don't want to confuse yourself and people that are looking at it. Present them separately if they both need to be presented at the same time. But just make a very clear distinction between the two. Yep.
How big is your business team?
How big is my business team? So
Like-
the last team, we were 6 people at the product that I was mentioning before. Now that we pivoted, we're down to 2. So
How did you build it? Like, is it right people or
sorry, I'm not
how did
understanding
you
the
build
question.
it? How did you build this team? How did you find your partner? I don't know who's.
How did I find my partner? I found my partner actually through school.
Oh yeah.
So I met him at school, and then we met other partners through networking, through going to events, finding people that are like-minded, like similar types of products. Yeah, just meeting people, talk to people that you know, ask them, if you're looking for a partner that has a specific set of skills, throw it out to your network. Say, guys, I'm looking for somebody with, business development skills or tech skills or plant growing skills, whatever it happens to be, and hopefully something to come through. And if it doesn't, you just got to work hard and keep meeting people. There's no magic answer.